Welcome to Flow Brewing, episode 12. Today we are having a sip of our Janet's Brown Ale, and we are also going to be talking about the Bohemian Pilsner that I'll be brewing. Here I've got the very end of my Janet's. It's cloudy with some hop oils, but man, it's a good beer. I took it into the homebrew shop and everybody loved it, so cheers. Brewing classic styles is really paying dividends. Today, brewing a Bohemian Pilsner. The target gravity is 1056. Let me tell you the finishing gravity. The finishing gravity is between 1017 and 1013. We're going to be using Czech Saaz hops. I've got an interesting hop schedule that we're going to try out today. And interestingly enough, because I travel so much, I didn't have time to prepare a proper yeast starter, and the homebrew shop did not have enough yeast for me to hit my 4 million yeast cells that I felt like was needed, although they seemed a little out of touch. They felt like that just one package would be more than enough. However, I tend to disagree. I think the research that White Labs and Jamil Zainasheff have done have kind of proven the proper pitching rates. One of the things, though, as I get more experience, I really want to document how many yeast cells I'm pitching, how it fermented out, and then brew another batch and evaluate it, and also look at kind of calculating out how many yeast cells are needed to ferment out to get a certain result based on the amount of sugar. And then the hard thing about that is you have to sort of evaluate taste and how those yeasts are reproducing when they're doing their job. Because as the yeast stress and as the yeast work, they create different flavors based upon how hard they're working. So, very interesting. Today, it is very cold. It is just now hit 40, which I expect to be the high for the day. I'm getting a very late start. It's about 2 o'clock, so my day is mostly gone from a sunlight perspective. That's okay. Looking forward to brewing. This should be a very good beer. Unfortunately, though, the brew shop did not have... I was looking for the Y Yeast 2001 Your Quell strain, and the brew shop did not have it. They did have a Pilsner Lager strain, so we're going to pitch that, even though I'm a little short. See how it turns out. I will bottle some of these and save them, and I am planning on entering the KC Beermeister's homebrew competition. Entries are due between January 9th and I believe February 11th. I will post onto flowbrewing.com the details for that competition and maybe a few other local competitions around here. We've just missed the annual holiday homebrew competition up in St. Louis, and Tulsa's foam competition has also just ended for this year. Looking forward to brewing this batch. Should be interesting, keeping track of my hop additions. It's the very first lager I've ever brewed, so shouldn't be too hard with the temperature control. I am under pitching by about 1 million cells. Have to evaluate that. I hate all this variance, but I really need to start planning more. I think that brewing is one of those things, the more you plan and the more that you control your variables, the better that you can baseline your outcomes. So I will take a few pictures of mash in of my goofy process with no sparge, and then we'll take some pictures of the beer as it's coming out and cooling, just so that we can kind of have some tasting notes of how it's going throughout the process. And then we'll record the final fermentation numbers, and then we will do a little tasting. So, and I'll also post, if I do enter this in the KC Beermeister's competition, the BJCP score sheets from that brew. This is one of the first pilots for the Pilsner. I will be trying it with various hop schedules and mix the hops up a little bit maybe take it away from being a true Bohemian and move it with into America with some American hop substitutes. So should be an exciting beer. Looking forward to brewing it. Cheers, and thanks for watching. We heated up our water to 151 and then put in the grains. We were shooting to hit 147, and I think we nailed it. So we are mashed in, and we are not going to turn this heat back on. We are going to let this convert and let it sit for 90 minutes just to make sure that we get full conversion. Put it in the mash tun and go on boil. Alright, we are sparging out the liquid that we need. You can see it is very thin. We finished at 142, which is not bad. Not a lot of loss. You can see there the color actually looks better on the camera than it does in real life. It's got a real kind of hazy straw color. I did not buy any Irish moss or clarifying agent, and it looks very good though. I don't see any real anything that's real concerning. So we're going to let this finish out and put it back in there and put it on boil for 30 minutes. I expect about 15% of the liquid to boil off because we're going to do a 90-minute boil. And let's do our first taste test. You can see kind of the light strawy color. I hope that this gets a little bit better color, but it's got good sweet flavor, very sweet, so very good flavor, and I hope this turns out well. It'll be interesting to see what our numbers are, because I got great numbers from brewing Janet's Brown Ale, so I think I'm going to be able to compensate and really dial in my numbers this time, but I've been disappointed before. This is a really interesting point that gets proven here. As I noted earlier, I was only able to buy 3 of these packs because the brew store didn't have enough, but the one that was manufactured on the 9th of August is slow to start activating, whereas the 2 packages, one was the 25th of October and the other was the 1st of November, are actually getting started a lot quicker. I still should be doing a yeast starter, but I don't have an Erlenmeyer flask, so that'll be on the list of things to pick up soon, and that'll save me a lot of money because then I won't have to buy as many of these things. Anyways, interesting note here, and looking forward to getting this beer inside and fermenting and enter it in the cup. Here we are at 59 degrees, getting ready to take our first hydrometer reading. Lighting's not real good and my hands are shaky, but let's take this temperature probe out and read it. Okay. Fortunately, my house isn't level, but here we are. I think we've got her. You can see the plum or whatever is not at the bottom of the thing, which is important. We've got a good, clear-looking liquid. Let's zoom in here and see if we can't get a reading. Okay, so we are at 14246, so 1.046. So assuming that we boil off enough water, this will hit 1.056. Should be no problem since this is pre-boil. I'm really confused as to why this is having a hard time focusing. Oh, it's the package in the background. There, it's trying. But anyways, 1.046 pre-boil, and looks good. This is the first time I've brewed at night, and it's really cold. It's probably about 25 degrees right now, which I guess that's subjective. If you live in northern Canada, then that's warm. However, unfortunately, I can't keep enough heat on this pot to keep the lid off. So I am concerned about, boiling off enough water and making sure that all that gets off. I've put the lid off as much as I possibly can, and you can see that I'm getting good steam out of it. Additionally, when I take the lid off, you can see there's not a ton of water that drips off of it, which that's good. So, but it does seem to help keep the boil rolling. I will turn on my light here so that you can kind of see, but you can't really see in there too well on the camera, but you can tell that the wort is really going in there good. And I have optimized my flame so that it's burning as hot as possible. If you look in there, you can see there's a little tip under the blue flames, and that's the hot point. So I've done my best to control the air valve down there and control that flame. I do have a very large bucket, and you can see that this is starting to freeze. I may start putting this in that large bucket to prevent it from freezing, to see if that helps my propane flow, and I can generate a little bit more heat. I never really thought with this burner that I would ever have a heat issue, but unfortunately I do. We'll keep working at it. Well, because it's nighttime, I've already grabbed my hydrometer reading and my sampling. We'll go in and taste those. The beer is coming out a little bit cloudy and strawy. Got a hop presence to it. Really disappointed with my lack of ability to get a good firm boil. I know I boiled off quite a bit of water. We're going to see when I take the hydrometer reading how much. And unfortunately the store did not have Whirlfloc, so I wasn't able to put that in. And I don't know, it's kind of a learning curve. It probably isn't going to be a picturesque Pilsner because I've made too many process mistakes. But should be a good beer, and looking forward to trying it. So let's go in and have a tasting and see where the hydrometer is. Here is the final product. Again, quite cloudy. Probably need some Whirlfloc. Hopefully a lot of this settles out in fermentation, and we'll see. Let's have our first test. No noticeable hop nose. Wow, it's got a nice hop flavor. A little bit of bitterness, but a lot of malt, good malt body. Very good beer. Really like it. You can already see some of those particles starting to settle out, so I'm optimistic that this thing isn't too watery, and that it'll settle out and have a nice, beautiful color. It does seem a little thin right here, but it has great flavor, so time will tell. Not bad for my first Pilsner, and looking forward to getting this thing in the fermenter. I need to look at my camera to get the timestamp of when I was grabbing that hydrometer reading, because we stopped cooling pretty quickly after that, but forgot to document that time. Now we are filling the carboy, and it's got kind of an ugly color. It's real hazy and full of proteins, so we'll see how the yeast does, and hopefully it clears a lot of that out. It's moving really fast, so I need to dump and tilt my filtering vessel. Alright, we are just at 59 degrees, just under it, so we're going to go ahead and take this hydrometer. Alright, we hit 1.054, so a combination of having a bad boil and, you know, that's just not that far off, so I'd say we nailed the recipe, and the only thing, I was short on volume, so I got to get that figured out. Got to bust up or increase the amount of both water and malt, it looks like, and then I'll be in good shape. I need to move to a sparging system, so that'll be what I do next, because this is starting to get crazy, the amount of grain that I'm using to hit my numbers. Welcome to Flow Brewing. This is the end of episode 12. I am drinking the Boulevard Collaboration 2 White IPA, which you can see a few of my notes on flowbrewing.com. It is the collaboration ale between Deschutes Brewing and Boulevard Brewing that they did. It was probably about 7 months ago, but anyways, top-notch beer. I think it actually works best in the winter, but probably also a good spring ale. So, anyways, we finished up brewing our Bohemian Pilsner. The beer came out right on spec, hit my numbers, but two things kind of went wrong. One, did not have enough yeast. One of the packs that I bought from the brew shop was just dead and dormant. It was manufactured on the 19th of August by Y Yeast, or I don't know why I call them Y Yeast, W Yeast. Anyways, that pack was no good, so I had to basically toss it out. It just smelled bad, and I didn't want to put it in my beer. I did not have a flask, so I was not able to grow a starter, and so I ended up underpitching the beer. However, also I have decided that I have to sort of build a new brewery and develop a new process, because I am just not efficient enough, and it's really driving me nuts. I started off with approximately 15 pounds of grains, right at 14 gallons of water, and ended up only getting about 4.5 gallons of beer. So, you know, when I mash in with my full water volume, the grains absorb a lot of the water. I still got about 9 gallons out of my sparge. I had problems with my heat, but I must have boiled off a lot of liquid. And then I think in the bottom of that, my boil kettle, because it's so large, I end up losing quite a bit of volume. I think probably a gallon to a gallon and a half of liquid. And then when I transfer it to my wort cooler, again I lose some more liquid. And it's not so much my wort cooler, but post-boil, when I put it in that filtration tank that I use to go into my carboy, I lose another probably half gallon there. And for some reason, I go from about 9 gallons to about 4.5 finished product. I might have 5 gallons in there. My carboy is 6.5 gallons, and I actually haven't done a good job of measuring to know exactly where I'm at. I think what I need to do is get like a stick or something. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to design a brewery. I'm going to use one of the Blakeman pots with the actual measuring gauge on the side for my boil, so I know how much after my boil exactly I have in there. And then I'm going to try and transfer from there straight into my fermenter after the boil, and then go straight into my temperature-controlled fermentation spot. And then this will allow me to lose a lot less product, be a little bit more efficient, and also just one less thing that I have to transfer the beer into for contamination. So, you know, again, quite disappointed that I underpitched and missed my volume, but I did hit my target specific gravity, which is huge. That's exactly what I needed to do. My yeast, I feel like, is lagging. It's been pitched for right at 20 hours, and I don't see any activity in the airlock. I'm right at 50 degrees, though. So I've never done a lager before. We'll see how it ferments out, and it was a very successful brew day. So I will have the final fermentation numbers and some tasting notes shortly, and thanks for tuning in. Cheers. Make sure to check out collaboration number 2.